I'm Rachel Zegler, and this is my 10-minute beauty routine. This is my first product, and it's like a plumping spray from Emma Hardy. My makeup artist, Niall Monteith Mann, on the set of Snow White, used to use this on me every day, so I like to give myself a little spray of that first thing in the morning. And it smells really good. If I could just go through the day with just this, I do. That's when I jump in with my Milk Jelly primer, which is kind of my favorite makeup product. This is the Hydro Grip. And when you're doing a Broadway show 8 times a week, you need to protect your skin, but you also need to make sure that your foundation and your concealer stays on. So I really like to go in with this before I do any of my base. And sometimes I'll do this after a nice moisturizer or a serum, depending on how my skin is feeling that day. But definitely when you're doing as physical of a Broadway show as I have done, it's very, very important to be able to keep that makeup on for what is possibly a 3-hour stretch. So then I go in with my Dior Forever Skin Glow Foundation. I use shade 2.5N. This is just my favorite foundation to use because you can layer it. Depending on how much coverage you need or want. I go in with a little foundation brush, dab it on my skin, and because I don't really like too much coverage, if I can get away with it, I only put a light layer on. And that is covering all of my problem areas, which is mostly my chin and my forehead whenever I have breakouts, whether that has to do with my period or whatever's going on. And I just like to put a healthy amount, but not too much, because I really don't like a heavy feeling on my skin. And yeah. On Broadway, it is very standard for performers to do their own makeup. So I did my own makeup 8 times a week. The blue eyeliner was crazy. I had silver eyeshadow that was crazy. I had to figure out methods of getting the blue eyeliner off because I would wake up on my day off and have like blue flecks all over my face still. So it's a very intense process. There's a real intense skincare regimen that had to happen in order to make sure that I didn't have crazy breakouts. So then I go in with concealer. I use the Dior Skin Correct Forever Foundation Concealer. This is in shade 2N because I like to do something just a little bit lighter to brighten under the eyes. I don't like to put too much on. I learned this from Peter Phillips. I go in on my problem areas. Right now I have a spot here and I have a lovely little spot here. And then sometimes I like to go in just for a little brightening effect on my nose and on the bridge here on my lip. And then I go in with a brush, go in with your brushes, and then I just dab it. I don't like to swipe because I feel like you lose a lot of product when you do that. So I just like to dab and then make sure that it's blended out as much as I can get it to do so. And you see, those spots kind of don't bother me too much. Sometimes if I'm feeling spicy, we like to do a little hard line, because then I don't have to use as much eyeshadow either, because it just kind of gives a very natural effect that it's already shadowed. I admittedly don't do my makeup every day. But, you know, right now we're in a season of doing press for Snow White and doing a lot of meetings, a lot of shoots, a lot of fittings, things that are getting photographed. The reality of my life has changed a bit ever since the release of the Hunger Games, where I get recognized a lot more, like on the subway, and I just prefer to look ready to have my photo taken. Okay, so usually next I go in with my contour. This is my very dirty, as you can see. This is my NARS. This is in shade Laguna 04, and I don't wear too much contour. I don't need too much contour. I don't think anybody really needs too much contour. And then I like to go pretty high on the cheekbone because it makes it a little bit more drastic if you're looking for a little bit more of the emphasis on your cheekbones. I was gifted very good cheekbones from God, which is something I thank him for constantly. When I was a kid, I used to manifest having cheekbones and dimples, and I got them both. So keep manifesting, ladies. I like to put some on my forehead, and then sometimes I put just a little bit on the sides of my nose. The TikTok girlies are gonna love this. I was using it first, but this is the Dior blush. This is Rosy Glow in 001 Pink. It's much brighter than I usually tend to go for, but I do think it's one of those where a little goes a long way. And I like to put it right on the cheekbone. I don't like to highlight my skin. I don't really want to be too shiny, ever. So the blush is kind of my highlight, and I kind of like to put it right over where my contour was, so that there's a clear distinction between the two. And then I like to put a little bit on the tip of my nose, just to kind of keep everything together. Sometimes I do a little bit on the forehead, a little bit on the chin, and if I'm not gonna do too much eyeshadow, which I don't plan to do today, I'll put a little bit here. So after I finish my blush, I like to go in with a little bit of eyeshadow. This is the Tarte Tartelette in Bloom palette. I like a bunch of browns, shimmery browns, but I tend to like to go in with a very like peachy shade on my actual eyelid. So I kind of tend to go in with a little flat brush and just kind of put that on very lightly, just to give a very, very clean look. And then I go in with a little bit of a fluffy brush and go either in Jet Setter or Smarty Pants and tap it off. And then that just kind of goes right here in my crease. Gives it just a little bit of dimension, a little bit of shadow, nothing too crazy. And then I like to flare it out just a little bit. And that's really it for my eyeshadow. This is my NYX brow pencil. What shade am I? I'm usually, I mean, it's in shade Espresso, very Sabrina. This is one that I used for Romeo and Juliet. And I have very thick brows. I have not gotten my eyebrows done since 2021. I like to keep them as thick as possible, and then I just kind of will clean them up every so often on my own, whether that's with like a little facial razor or with some tweezers. I just kind of go in on them. But I like to just fill them in a little bit with a thin pencil, and then I take the eyebrow brush that's on there. Down to the last couple of steps, I like to take my eyelash curler, and I like to just do a quick on the very, very edge of my lashes. I have very long lashes, but I have naturally very straight hair, so they kind of go out straight, and it's very hard to get them to curl naturally. And then I go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Exaggerized Volume Mascara. This is also waterproof. There have been moments doing the Broadway show where I did a tragedy and I had to cry a lot, and this never came off. For Snow White, I was in the chair for an hour and 50 minutes every morning. It was pretty quick, especially because like I feel like Gal Gadot was in for like 3 hours every morning. And then especially if she was doing the old hag changeover was 4 hours. So it was a really, really intense hair and makeup for her. I think the most intense part of mine was making sure that the hair was perfect. And so that was both on set and in the chair every morning, was just a very intense hair routine. But for reshoots, I had a wig because I had moved on to other projects and I couldn't cut my hair again. So that was a pretty intense experience, but those wigs were amazing. Shout out Sam who built those wigs. It was really, really amazing. And obviously Niall who did my hair and makeup was just ace. And Nadia Stacey who designed it, who's also an Oscar winner for Poor Things. My final-ish step before I set is the Makeup Forever lip pencil in Anywhere Caffeine. This is shade 600. I don't line my whole lip. I like to kind of get rid of my Cupid's bow a little bit. I like to go over it so that it's more round. And I like to overline the tiniest bit. Whenever I'm getting my makeup professionally done, I ask that they overline, just because I like the way it looks. And I do that on the bottom as well. Go in the corners. There we go. And then I'm gonna go in shade Remix with this gloss that has a nice pinky nudish tone to it. It's kind of my favorite lip combo, is to have like a little, like a brownish mauve type color, and then something brighter and redder on the inside. and I love a gloss look. And then my final step, I go in with this Milk Makeup Grip Set and Refresh Spray, which I will either use as a setting spray like I am right now, just do a couple of spritzes and let it dry, or if I am touching up my makeup, I will spray it a bit closer to my face and go in with my brushes and just kind of, you know, refresh what's under my eyes, what's around my eyes. That's my whole routine. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, Allure, I'm Rachel Zegler. Bye.